You want to go? Yeah.
Robert, oh sorry, when you done.
Yeah, so them ones with the A, Robert. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that London's a bit distracting for me. So I was invited to train with Team Usyk. So I've been in Spain. We've been doing some good training out in Spain. And I think he's one of the best in the world. Not I think, he is one of the best in the world. And it's not all down to him, it's also down to his team.
I think he can.
Yeah.
And that's what I do think he can. Yeah. I'm not saying he will, but I do think he can. If everything's right, I do think he certainly can.
That's interesting. Because I was curious, I was going to put Fabio Wardley into the equation because the big thing about Fabio, and we'll talk about Fabio Wardley in a bit later on.
Has to be Wardley done it because he has the belts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the problem you got then as well.
Anthony Joshua is training with Oleksandr Usyk before his fight with Jake Paul. Joshua has a lot of respect for Usyk and sees him as one of the greatest fighters. Training with him gives Joshua strong focus and motivates him to push harder. This environment helps him improve and get ready for his fight with Jake Paul.
Getting an insight to how someone who's achieved so much has been phenomenal, man. It's been a great experience and it's very challenging.
Training with the experienced team in Usyk's camp, Anthony Joshua works on many techniques to improve both his offense and defense. People watching him say he keeps trying to get better in areas like footwork, timing, and combinations. His training style is organized but flexible, letting him test different methods in a safe environment. The camp also gives him partners who create real fight situations, keeping him sharp. As the fight gets closer, every session becomes important for building his strength and focus. Joshua's routine shows that he knows preparation and new ideas are important in boxing.
That's what he's trying to do, though, Simon. I think he's at that stage of his career where he's trying to rediscover a little bit of that confidence. He's gone to Oleksandr Usyk, where we're hearing reports he's out there training with Usyk and the team, trying to pick up something, trying to rediscover something.
That's very strange, Paul, isn't it?
It is, but it's not unheard of. I've heard of a lot of fighters doing that. You see fighters, obviously, it's the old Rocky movies years ago, but you see a fighter losing to someone, all of a sudden they go in the camp and they start training and do little bits together and become friends or whatever else. I think it'll do Joshua no harm travelling, but as you say, he's a little bit long in the tooth and he's a bit on the back nine rather than the front nine, where that experience would really come into play. But I'm just looking at his record here. He obviously, after the Usyk fight, he's come back and he had 3 fights and then the Ngannou demolition
job.
Yeah,
Jermaine Franklin, he had Robert Helene, he had Otto Wally, and he smashed Ngannou, which everyone went hallelujah for, right?
Yeah, but he's obviously not in like the box rec rankings to see where he is. But the Dubois fight is a fight where what you've just said then, Spencer, like match him right. I felt he was match right with Dubois. That's just my opinion.
Just
obviously, I was wrong on that and I was proved wrong, but I felt like Joshua would have and should have came through that, but he obviously didn't. So therefore, it's back to the drawing board, and where do you go from there? What do you do from there? Does he keep the same team around him? Does he go and find someone new and try and adapt and add to his repertoire already? And this move at Usyk, I don't know what it'll be, but if he's fighting before Christmas, then he needs to get in shape quick because there's only 8 weeks to go, let's say.
Well, my understanding, he's in camp, he's in shape, and just looking to get an out and get back to winning ways is my understanding. That's why they're talking about 8-rounders.
Yeah.
He wants to sort of go under the radar a little bit, and it's difficult for someone like Anthony Joshua because he's such a commercial commodity.
He's always been in shape all the time, hasn't he? Yeah. He always will be in shape. He's never, ever not been.
But it's not about his physical shape, is it? No one's ever questioned his physical state. Zach, when I was talking about Anthony Joshua, and I know that the president of his fan club is here in Spencer, but I talked about the PTSD issue post various fights, whether it be the Oleksandr Usyk or the Daniel Dubois situation. But prior to Daniel Dubois, I always maintained that I felt that despite the performance against Jermaine Franklin, despite the performance against Robert Helenius, which had been blasted out by Deontay Wilder, and we've seen what Deontay Wilder is now with respect to him.
Analyst True Geordie says Joshua joining Usyk's camp is not only about preparing for Jake Paul, but also about what comes next, especially a possible fight with Tyson Fury. Usyk has fought Fury twice and understands his style very well, and Joshua wants to learn from that experience. By watching Usyk train, studying his movement, and seeing how he prepares, Joshua gains knowledge that can help him in future big fights. Even though the Jake Paul fight is important, this training also builds Joshua's skills, strategy, and understanding of top-level boxing. His time in Usyk's camp shows he is thinking ahead, staying disciplined, and focused on improving for the long run.
don't want to have his fighters fighting.
Okay, so but let's talk about what this means for AJ. He's going to Team Usyk. I think personally that is with one eye on the Fury fight. They're like, he's like, you clocked Fury. You completely understand everything about him. You fought him twice. You know every weakness, and I need to learn as much as I can from you in a short space of time. It's obviously not for a fucking Jake Paul fight. I think it's more about the Fury fight than it is about Ben Davison having people like Wardley. I think that's actually the real reason. However, I wouldn't mind seeing Anthony Joshua versus Wardley if AJ can get his mind right.
I believe that's in Feb. I believe that will be the next, because it makes the most sense. When you're trying to matchmake, I know Frank Warren does not want to put his fighters in together. It makes sense. And the money, we can go straight back to Wembley, and then actually, let's imagine that AJ does beat Fabio. Now we're talking about Fury versus AJ for a belt again. Yeah. It's perfect. So, and this is, I honestly feel this is the road that we're taking. Can I ask you though,
do you think they're going to let Fabio in there with AJ before they get the biggest fight possible? Like, they've already fucked up AJ Fury enough times. That's a big risk, right?
Well, the thing is, there's no safe route to a big fight anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? And the fact is, Fabio Wardley will be absolutely down for that fight because that's the biggest payday.
That motherfucker's game as fuck.
Yeah, but it's like, even just on the note of AJ with, the 5th trainer of his career so far, I think he's just disconnected from the idea that I'm going to have a trainer that me and him, and we're buddies and we're tight and we're in the pocket together. I think he's done with that. It's almost like modern basketball teams where they're not loyal to their teams anymore. They trade and they bounce around. The best situation, they just take it. I think he's looking at it like, I'll do a bit of time with you, bit of time with you. We don't need to be best friends and pretend like we've got this father-son relationship. Piss off, bro.
He's
Teach
sponging,
me what you want.
Sponging,
and I'm out.
He's sponging as much as he can up from each individual trainer.
As boxers, do you not think that's good? 5 trainers.
Eddie Hearn says Anthony Joshua's fight with Jake Paul is very important because a loss could even push Joshua toward retirement. Still, Hearn believes fully in Joshua's skills and hard work. He explains that boxing is not a game, and Joshua takes every fight seriously, including this one. In Spain, training with Usyk's team, Joshua is improving his technique, sharpening his reflexes, and building his stamina. Every drill and sparring session reminds him how important accuracy and control are, because even a small mistake can be costly. Hearn's comments show Joshua's strong commitment to the sport and his professional mindset. Even though Jake Paul is a crossover fighter, Joshua stays focused and disciplined. His training combines smart strategy, physical preparation, and mental strength, making sure he is ready for the challenges of this fight.
You're quoted on record saying that you and AJ must retire if Jake Paul wins on December 19th. Stand by that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I suppose so. Shit, yeah. Look, I don't see a world where Jake Paul wins this fight. I know that boxing's boxing. And I mean, what is it? Roy Jones came out this morning and said Jake Paul can win this fight.
Teddy Atlas as well.
Teddy Atlas? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, now I'm a bit worried. I won't retire. AJ should retire if he loses, no. No, I see AJ winning this fight with ease, comprehensively, destructively, violently, and I don't see a world where Jake Paul is competitive in the fight, let alone win the fight. But luckily, AJ's not preparing in a way that he just thinks it's a joke. He's preparing for Jake Paul like he's a world title contender. Yes, it's been a little bit of a shorter camp. Yes, we've got to make weight this time around, but it doesn't matter. We should just slide through this guy and bash him up and beat him up, and we should do it early doors.
Just lastly, you said as well that you told Nikisa that he was weighing 290 when you were negotiating. What impact did that have? Did you feel like they would have gone even lower if they knew he was weighing 265?
No, I mean, I don't think that when you're negotiating on a weight, there's not one promoter in the world that would tell the truth about what the weight of the fighter was, and Nikisa knows that anyway. So it wasn't like we were being clever, but they wanted him to come to 240. And it's just, don't forget, AJ's never made weight before. So all of a sudden, he's he'd been in camp for, 2 or 3 weeks. And he's probably sitting at, 260, 265. And it's like, you got to make 245. It's 20 pounds.
Michael Bisping says the size and power difference between Joshua and Jake Paul is huge. He believes there is no way Paul can handle the kind of punches Joshua throws. Bisping mentions Joshua's fight with Francis Ngannou, where even a much bigger and more experienced fighter could not take Joshua's power. This shows how strong and accurate Joshua is. The message is simple. Joshua's power, skill, and experience make him a very tough opponent, and Paul is facing a challenge unlike anything he has ever dealt with before.
He was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world, has a good go against Tyson Fury, but goes up against Anthony Joshua and gets flatlined. Every single punch that was thrown was landed, and every punch that landed put Francis Ngannou down, okay? So to stand there and think that Jake Paul, who's much, much smaller, who has way less experience, that doesn't weigh anything near him, is going to have a chance, and not to mention the technical abilities. Let's just talk about that. Not to mention the technical abilities or experience. We're talking about an Olympic gold medalist, remember, from back in the day, who's then gone on to become a true British boxing icon, or a worldwide boxing icon, let's be honest, right? There's no way that he loses to Jake Paul, unless it's an exhibition match. Now, Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua's promoter, came out and said, we are not interested in an exhibition match. We only want a professional rules fight.
And how would it work? Would it be an exhibition?
No exhibition. So we're not interested in exhibition. It's a real fight. It's a cruiserweight moving up to heavyweight. We were going to have an 8-round fight this year on an undercard somewhere, very obscure. We didn't expect that to be against Jake Paul, but it just so happens that if it is, it's for 50 times more money.
Well, that's just crazy straight away. Eddie Hearn is chatting some there, because this shouldn't be a sanctioned bout. Sanctioning Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is almost as bad as sanctioning Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul. And remember, the commissions weren't going to do that, and then eventually they had to pull the plug. I did a video on this. Apparently, some allegedly, I don't know the whole story, some domestic abuse stuff. I don't know the details. I don't want to get into it. It's disgusting, whatever it is, but the fight's not going ahead. But apparently the commissions were very, very hesitant to license it anyway, right? Because of the weight discrepancy, because that's what Jake Paul always does. But I will say that Anthony Joshua, that walks around 265, 270 pounds, he's going to have 50 pounds give or take on Jake Paul. I haven't gone away and looked up Jake Paul. If he's fighting Anthony Joshua, he's probably going to come in at about 220 pounds. Maybe he bulks up, maybe gets on a real good strength and conditioning routine and takes in loads of protein and gets the best nutritionist on planet Earth and goes up to 225. Right? Maybe he does. Maybe he becomes a proper fat bastard and just gets on the beers and the pies, right? And comes in at 230. Regardless, it's not going to be an athletic 230, and it's still going to be roughly, give or take, a 40-pound weight difference, 30 pounds, 35 pounds, whatever it is. It's a big weight disadvantage. Now, my guess is that this will probably end up being an exhibition matchup. And if it is, then fair play. Have a bit of fun.
Gareth A. Davis says Anthony Joshua looks calm and focused as he prepares for Jake Paul. He mentions that some fans are betting on a big upset, but he believes Jake only has a very small chance, maybe through one lucky punch. Still, boxing can be unpredictable, which is why the fight feels interesting to him. He also points out that the matchup is a crazy but clever business move, especially with Joshua earning around $25 million.
To be around him, he's stoked for this fight. He's got to go in there and do a number on Jake Paul and not allow the doubters, the punters, who are all laying money on Jake Paul causing the biggest upset in the history of boxing. Would you give him 1% maybe of throwing a rogue punch? No, exactly. It's very hard to give him any chance of winning the fight, but weird things happen in boxing. I'm fascinated to watch it. It's a freak show, but it's a brilliant marketing ploy to get those two in the ring together. AJ gets 25 million, I hear. That's my understanding. Gets 25 million. It's a very, very good payday for putting one tile on a roof, isn't it? You know.
Do you think Jake, for the first time in his boxing career, actually went, "Oh, I'm in for something here"? There was a point when he looked up at AJ, he kind of took a deep breath, raised his head, and I just thought maybe that's the first time he's actually thought, "Fuck, I'm up against it. I'm really up against it. There's no games here."
Yeah, he wasn't. I don't think he was acting. Well, when he looked at AJ's chest, the talk is that he was planning to motorboat him, wasn't
yeah,
he?
I mean,
and he thought
I'm not sure how that would have gone down. AJ was cool, but I'm not sure how that would have gone down.
AJ had the game face on at that point, and it says something about. I don't think that Jake Paul was crapping himself. I think it says more about his radar that he realised he's got very, very good radar, that it was the wrong thing to do, and that it was disrespectful. There's no point playing a game here. That he said, I'm going to knock him out. He said, I'm going to stop him. He said, I'm going to call out Tyson Fury afterwards. I'm going to wreck the Fury-AJ fight next year, and it's going to be me. He said all the right things.
Adam Catterall and Nick Peet reacted to the confirmed fight by saying that even though the matchup is getting a lot of attention, treating it like a real professional fight brings serious responsibilities. They point out that Joshua has already said he will not use his full power, mainly to avoid putting Jake Paul in danger. This shows Joshua understands the importance of safety while still staying professional. He is keeping the fight competitive but controlled, showing maturity and respect for his opponent.
We're being told from those people that this is a fully professional boxing contest. I'd like to see the small print, to be totally honest with you, but that's what we're being told. We're being told that it's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. We're being told that they're going to use 10-ounce gloves, which are far too fucking small for Anthony Joshua to hit you in the face with when you're there. Listen, Jake's a good novice. Jake's a good novice.
Oh, yeah.
And if he wanted to have a legitimate career in boxing, then he would climb the domestic rankings in America, and he might even make top 50. He might make top 50 if you pick him right, great. But if you put him in with meritocracy and put him in rankings and actually make him fight the number 49 guy in America or try and climb up, he's going to get found out because he's a nutter novice. Now I speak from experience here. I did an exhibition bout with Shane Neary, a former world champion, and I was fucking 2 or 3 stone bigger than him. I was 5 inches bigger than him, very similar to AJ and Jake Paul. And I was a novice. I'd boxed, sparred and moved around my whole life, but I'd never been in a competitive fight. And we did it for charity. And we did 3 rounds. And at the end of it, I realised, and I knew it going in, that Shane Neary controlled pretty much every second of those 3 minutes. Pretty much every second he controlled. He put the pressure on me in 1 round, he hit me with the body shot in the 2nd round, and he caught everything I threw at him in the 3rd round when he said, go on, try and knock me out. Caught everything. And, you know, in a similar vein, Anthony Joshua controls every second of this fight that he wants to control.
Chael Sonnen has shared a critical view of the fight, saying that something feels missing and there isn't one strong reason that makes the matchup exciting. Even when he looks for possible highlights, he doesn't find anything that truly stands out. His opinion reflects the bigger debate about exhibition-style fights and whether they belong in professional boxing. Still, the fight's announcement and the attention it is getting show that it is important. The conversation around it also shows how analysts, fighters, and fans all have different opinions.
Let's start with Jake Paul and Joshua. There's something missing. Now, no fight has ever drawn in the history of time where you don't have a reasonable belief, no matter how silly you look after the fact, but a reasonable belief going into it that both parties can win. And never in my lifetime has there been a sporting event that is as lopsided as Joshua versus Paul. And I've only made that statement one other time. And it turned out to be one of the most amazing sporting events I've ever seen. It was Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. At that point in my life, I had never seen a sporting event that was as lopsided. So we've got Joshua, we got Paul, we got the right players, got the right network, something.
Frank Smith has talked about the financial side of the fight, saying Anthony Joshua is making a huge amount of money for what he calls easy work. He explains that the offer came out of nowhere, and Joshua accepted it without hesitation. This shows the business side of boxing, where big names and attention-grabbing matchups bring in a lot of money. While the fight has professional importance, the financial reward also plays a role in why it's happening. Joshua's choice to take the fight shows both his competitive nature and his willingness to make the most of a highly public event.
About Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul. What was the original plan for Anthony Joshua? I heard he was just mid-fight week going to pop up and be told he's finding it somewhere, or...
It came out of nowhere, yeah. I mean, and it moved very quickly. But if someone said to you, do you want to go and do your job, but a really easy version today for a ton of money? You'd say yes, and that's what he did. You know, he's going to make a load of money to knock out Jake Paul, and fair play to him. And fair play to Jake Paul as well. Respect to him for doing his part.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay informed. Stay tuned for more updates, and let's keep our news accurate.